So guys, in this video, I'm going to be discussing the Titanic's grand staircase and what happened to it on the night of the sinking in 1912. Obviously, we look at it on the wreck now, it is just one giant hole. And as a youngster, I was always confused by that. They're like, this is where the grand staircase was. I'm like, where are the stairs? Well, supposedly there are a few different theories, and doing some research into this, we're going to be talking about the most likely situation that happened on the night of the sinking. There are no stairs. It almost does look like the entire staircase, like all of the different floors of stairs, was ripped out. Like all of the different floors of stairs was ripped out and possibly floated up through the ship, where an initial hole was made as the dome shattered and water poured in. Now, the grand staircase was located towards the bow of the ship, meaning it experienced flooding before the Titanic broke into two, flooding from the bottom and then possibly over through the top. Now, if you watch the James Cameron 1997 movie, I'm not sure it was that ridiculous to where it creates a crazy gushing waterfall like Niagara Falls when it comes in through the top, based off of the angle at which the Titanic sunk in real life versus the movie. It was a lot less drastic in real life. So in theory, the grand staircase area very likely would have been submerged significantly more than it was in the movie. It's all based off of the angle. In the movie, the angle's high, so a lot of it's going to stay up above the water, when in reality, the angle is not nearly as high, and also you're dealing with the port list. I do agree with James Cameron for not including the port list, whether he just didn't know about it or what have you. If you've seen some actual accurate, depictions of the Titanic sinking with the port list, it just doesn't look very pretty. If they would have included that into the movie, Titanic in general, it's like a beautiful disaster, and you want it to sink evenly. But either way, guys, just talking about what actually happened to the grand staircase, I think the best theory is that, yes, some parts might have floated up through the dome area, which would have already been broken and shattered because of water pressure. Some parts would have done that, but you're also probably talking about a bunch of the Titanic staircase, a bunch of that wood falling to the bottom, possibly all the way down. You can see when you look into it, probably a lot of the debris located on the bottom is from the grand staircase. You also have to think the grand staircase wood design, bacteria eating away at that. A lot of it probably completely disintegrated at this point. But my general theory is that the entire thing, there's no way it would fit through the top in one piece. Probably there were several big chunks that did float through the top. If you guys remember the 1997 film, when they were filming the grand staircase scene, the staircase actually uprooted and kind of lifted up and floated, and that's kind of where the idea comes from. I don't think it was crazy drastic to where the entire thing rips off. I'm guessing several parts did. And you're also dealing with the Titanic being down there in 1912 through 1985. For all we know, part of the grand staircase, maybe the bottom areas, might have still been together when the thing hit the ocean floor and then just, either collapsed on top of itself or just been deteriorated by bacteria to the point where it ends up collapsing, and you can see possible remnants of the grand staircase. I also saw this. I thought this was funny. RMS Titanic grand staircase floor tile replica. $50 for the floor tile of the grand staircase on eBay. Just thought that was funny. I'd screenshot it. But yeah, in general, you can take a look at those are possible rare images of debris from the grand staircase. Now, we do have debris from the aft grand staircase that has been confirmed. It's like the shelling, the top of the dome area where the glass was. There is debris of that, but this is potential rare debris of the initial grand staircase, possibly all the way at the bottom where the grand staircase was ripped out, looking into it. Now, with the grand staircase being gone, it does make for very easy access for those underwater robots to go into all the different decks. I guess that's one of the pros in terms of it. That's where they normally set up and go down when they're doing one of those crazy missions, although those missions really haven't happened very much recently. And especially with the Titan news, that's not going to help public perception of dives going down to the Titanic. Another very interesting thing about the Grand Staircase, and this was figured out in the video game Titanic Honor and Glory, they realized this and they changed it, and you can see the drastic change. The original Grand Staircase, if you see it in the movie, it's lit up. Even at night, when the singing is happening, when they're all gathering around the Grand Staircase, you can see Thomas Andrews, and behind him, the Grand Staircase has all that fake artificial light, like it's light outside, like it's noon, when in reality it really did not have that, unfortunately, and it was a lot darker. You can see that's what it would actually look like in terms of that. That's just another something that kind of was unearthed recently that I think is kind of cool about the Grand Staircase area. And then I did do a video on the aft Grand Staircase as well, which was significantly smaller than the original Grand Staircase, and its fate was a lot more known considering the break of the Titanic happened extremely close to it, and on its descent, obviously with the stern imploding, it was right at the front, so it's going to take a lot of the damage there, and you can't even explore that area of the ship because it's destroyed. It just doesn't exist anymore. Ah, yes, there it is. If you guys remember the 1985 film Raise the Titanic, that was their depiction of the Grand Staircase right there. And you also do have the crazy photo of the Olympic during its scrapping and the Grand Staircase just in a completely dilapidated state. It's an extremely sad photo. That happened in the 1930s during the Olympics final scrapping there. And you also do have the Britannic. Now, the Britannic, I did a video on this a while ago. Very sad story. Was originally supposed to be possibly even more luxurious than the Titanic. It had an organ located within its Grand Staircase section, but they completely stripped it down because it had to go in service right away as a hospital ship, and it didn't last long. It was struck and it sunk very quickly, but that is just some photos of the Britannic there and what it would have looked like, some cool renderings, and then you can see it stripped down to what it was when it served as a hospital ship. Certainly interesting to go up those stairs of what was supposed to be a grandiose Grand Staircase with a massive organ installed, and what it ends up being. It's just very interesting in my opinion. So guys, when it comes to the Grand Staircase, why is it a hole? Did it actually all float up? I don't think all of it would have floated up. Yes, parts of it possibly could have, but just because it happened in the 1997 film, that doesn't mean that it actually happened in real life, especially when you consider it is a massive staircase that consists of tons of wood. Parts of it could have very easily broken off and floated up, but a lot of it could have actually just stayed together and then over time possibly eroded to the point where it just completely collapsed and went to the bottom. And at this point, it's unrecognizable because you're not going to go all the way down to the bottom of where the Grand Staircase is. And even if you do, a lot of that, it probably doesn't even exist because of it getting eaten away by bacteria. That's another image of the Olympics Grand Staircase. The Olympic and the Titanic's Grand Staircase were virtually identical. It was the Britannic that decided to stray a little bit from the initial design, but you can see there it's painted green. A lot of people don't like that, and certainly I think, you know, the original wood color was more grandiose than that, but that was towards the end of its life. They decided to kind of fit it a little bit differently, but either way, guys, that is just my take on the Grand Staircase. What's left of it? Not much. There are possibly some remnants at the bottom of where the Grand Staircase previously was, but other than that, because it's all wood no matter what, I do wonder about the hypothetical, what if the Grand Staircase stayed completely together? Would it have collapsed anyways because it's just all wood? I'm sure it would look a little bit differently rather than, you know, some of the parts possibly floating up through the dome area, but it's kind of an interesting hypothetical. Either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.